See if we got everything up and running, and looks like we should be good. So, hope everyone is having a good time out there. I'm gonna give everyone just a couple seconds to get in here since I was a little bit late. I didn't have the normal clock up there to where we could operate this a little bit sooner and get everybody kind of in the queue. So as people continue to log in, we'll kind of dive into this and make sure that everyone is doing what they need to do. Great, sounds good. Audio visual is good. If you guys don't know me, as I always say, over here at profitpilot.com, so go check that out. Always write a blog a couple times a week, and we got some e-letters and some other things if you are interested. All right, so if we get into the market today, we've been seeing the sell and may go away happening. And part of this started actually back here with what I refer to as the inverse trampoline move right here. So price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. That's a typical thing that we see. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. Like if we look back here, we had that for about a day, right in through there. And then I was expecting price to pull back a little bit deeper to the hourly 50, but instead it liked the hourly 21 and it continued to move up from there. And the other thing we could see was the Moxie indicator actually fired and crossed over 0 right there. And when I was had my weekly webinar that I was teaching everybody over last week, because what are we at? Today is Wednesday, so Tuesday and Monday. So on Friday is where we left off with price up here, and I said, look, at least we don't want to go long the market on something like this because it's pretty extended for a few reasons. Number one, it's up here at the third ATR. Number two, it's off the 8 EMA. And number three, the Moxie indicator is pretty far away from crossing over 0. So I also said that at some point, we need to see what price is going to do with the 15-minute 50. And there we can see that on Monday, price, halfway through the day, just sliced right through the 15-minute 50. So this is why I like to use this time frame and say, hey, has price even found that for support? And it didn't, and then it kept moving down. Got a big old gap down on Tuesday. I said, hey, likely to bounce because this is some people refer to it like shock and all. This was a pretty big move down, and it's actually, I think, an opportunity to then migrate to the upside. So we got a little bit of selling down in the morning, and then it kind of bounced and migrated its way up for the day. Now, was the selling over? No, not necessarily. We didn't have anything that said we are ready to go back up. A lot of times I look at the 15-minute 50. Well, where are we at? We are still below it. So what I do want to see is some support starting to come in here because generally, let me kind of back out on this. Well, let me show you one thing first. We are still outside of the hourly third ATR to the downside. That's pretty stretched. That's usually a pretty good outer boundary of where price is likely to at least bounce or reverse for a little bit. So I'm looking at that and saying, okay, we should be finding some support and bouncing at some point in the near future. The other thing is that the hourly 200 tends to be, I refer to it as a backstop. It tends to be, if we're going to be trading at the hourly 50 for actually making some trades, the overall trend tends to be the hourly 200. So I call it the backstop. And we can see that, yes, it'll dip below it sometimes, but what you'll notice is that the hourly 200 is still up in that section and is still up even more in this area. So that's why I'm looking at this and saying, let's not be too bearish. Let's not be too, with the market saying, hey, let's start going short on the market overall as far as the overall trend. No, that's not quite right. As far as the daily chart, I still view this as, yes, there is a big gap between price and the daily 50. That is something I look at. I talk about that often, that when there's a big gap between price and the moving average, oftentimes it's going to want to come back to it. Now, how is it going to come back to it? Is it going to do it by a big move down, like a big pullback, maybe a correction? Or can it do it with a choppy sideways flag? And that's kind of where we're at here is, yes, there have been a couple moves down, but overall, we have really just kind of been going sideways like that, and we still have these moving averages that we need to contend with. And as far as that third ATR, third ATR, bounce, third ATR, bounce, third ATR, bounce, same here, same here. So the fact that we are here outside of the third ATR in a pretty significant way, I am looking for some sort of bounce, some sort of move back up to the upside. Well, fairly soon. That would be great. Something fairly soon. So we'll see how long it takes for the market to actually turn around and do that. If we look at the NASDAQ, and this one right in through here on the daily chart, kind of the same thing about, you don't care about the Moxie indicator there, but what I've been talking about with the S&P trying to get back to the daily 50, this is what I've been talking about with the NASDAQ. It's the first move versus the second move. I'm looking for price to come back down to the daily 50. Now, it did that last week right there, and we did get a bounce, but as we were trying to decide about that on Friday, I said, well, I can't go in long yet. You know, maybe I wasn't going to be looking short, but I definitely can't go long yet because this is price trying to run into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50. Like that's not going in our favor. That is going the wrong direction as far as trying to find some support, and so that thing rolled on over. And then you can see here continuation of the for the 15-minute time frame right here. Price flagged sideways, or at least bounced or pulled back into the underside of a 15-minute 50. So again, getting rejected by those kind of moving averages. That's why I was expecting a little bit more to the downside today, but it's getting kind of stretchy to the downside. I would be expecting a bounce sometime soon. All right, and if we look here on the daily, you can see daily third ATR, get a bounce. Third ATR got a bounce, third ATR got a bounce, and on the hourly you can see third ATR, we got a bounce, and again, third ATR should be getting a bounce. So that's kind of where I'm looking at as far as, hey, I wouldn't be, at this point, I would not be looking short on the markets because I think that most of the meat on the bone has been had, and I don't think that the risk to reward ratio is really good for a continuation of the downside. So that's how I'm viewing the market. All right, then IWM, and then if you guys want to start throwing me some names and see what you're looking at there, we'll kind of do a little walk around the market and see if there's anything to be discussing. I'm also going to pull up the ARK ETFs now. I know a lot of people have been talking about that. How's the audio? Everyone else can hear me just fine? I got Dev telling me that he can barely hear me. Let's see. As far as IWM, same kind of deal. Trying to see if there is there's a double bottom here. But again, kind of 30 ATR bounce, 30 ATR bounce, 30 ATR bounce. And you can see it here, 30 ATR bounce. So we're going to see if that's going to be something happening here. All right, and then let's see, ARKK. And this is something we've been talking about for quite some time, right here into the underside of a downtrending daily 50. When I was just talking about the NASDAQ on the 15 minutes, just yesterday, ran into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50. Look, ARK did the same thing with the daily. Okay, let me see about something here. All right, is there anything better with the audio there? I just pulled up a different source. Want to see if it's going to be helping. All right, then looking at that so far, I know Kathy Woods has been getting a lot of heat as far as what's going on with those ETFs, and a lot of that I want to say is because of the TNX. If you look at the TNX, this is basically the interest rates. They continue to go up, and what we've been seeing here was generally price bouncing off of the daily 50. And over here, you can see here's the double bottom, here's the positive divergence, and then we can start to see there's the Moxie price trigger, and we start getting some move up there. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it. Okay, so I did just redo the audio, so hopefully that'll be a little bit better for you all. And it does seem as though I'm pulling from the right, from the right audio source. All right, so TNX, interest rates, it's making it difficult for high beta names, for new companies that need to borrow a lot of money in order to do anything, to get going. So now that the bonds have gone up really quite a bit. I mean, they're still low relatively. They're still below 2%. They're like a little over, I think, 1.5%. But from going from 1 to 1.5% is a 50% increase. That's a lot, and that's pretty crazy. So we look at something like that, and even though it's big picture, not that different, Little picture, that was a big change, and that is a lot that some of these companies have to account for, and it's really given all of the names that the high beta names that did so well a few months ago, just really causing them to not do well. I mean, look at Solo. Ever since it just hit that peak, it just has been melting down. We even see that with Tesla. You know, they just can't get anywhere. They're just getting no traction. How about Neo? Just can't get any traction. We're looking at these names running here into the underside of the daily 50. So those are problematic. What do? Well, I've been trying to look around and find some other stuff, more industrials, trying to find other things that, financials that have been going up. I've even trying to look and see if some of these reopening names are going to be doing some stuff because they've been doing decently, but they might succumb to some of the issues that are out there with the market and with the economy too. All right, Gassan, let's see, Invax. Let's kind of check that one out. Yep, I don't see anything. This is going to be part of those high beta names, part of that, the ARC ETF. I took a quick little trade right in through there when I had my typical setup, and then it just got all given back. In fact, this would have been a much better short than a long. Jeez. I also don't like to trade earnings, so I just wait until after earnings. But there's nothing here that tells me that Novavax wants to go up. And you can see it is still below these moving averages. And you can still see it's below these moving averages and going down. It didn't even care about the daily 200. So that was definitely problematic right in there. Some of the names that we are looking at, CAT and DE, looking like they're trying to hold up here. Anything can go, anything can change, but boy, right here, nice bounce off the daily 50. It's up here at all-time highs, and if we can continue to kind of maintain some support here at the hourly 200 or hourly 50, then great. But the thing we need to talk about is that even when these things were going up really well, they are not the smoothest kind of stocks that trade. I mean, look at CAT. Look at some of the stuff that we might be dealing with if we step into a name like this. Now, overall, you kind of have to zoom out and say, okay, the hourly 50 is not something that's going to be working. Maybe it's going to be like the hourly 200. Maybe that's something. It would be great if we found moments and spurts in time to where the hourly 50 does really work very well. But there's a good chance that these names are not going to be doing something like this. Even if we go back and we look at some of these other ones, a little bit further back, I mean, you can see here, it kind of held the hourly 50, then pulled back. And then it kind of held the hourly 50, then pulled back. Then held the hourly 50 and pulled back. These are some messy charts, but what they do, if you look at them long term, they've done a pretty good job of just kind of migrating up. And it took a long, long time. I mean, look at this. From the start of this move to maybe the peak of where it started to flag, 247 days. But you did get 77%. That is like watching paint dry for the kind of moves and the kind of trends and trades that I like to take. So this is something that we might be stepping into, trying to find names like this that are going to be doing anything. Let's see, Nick, let's look at VYGR. What is that, Voyager, the way it sounds? Yep, Voyager Therapeutics. Possibility, but the issue is, and Nick, I know you've kind of listened to me for a while and that we have talked about angle of attack and you're familiar with that stuff. Yes, there can be pops, okay? There can definitely be pops like that. But you need to understand in something like this, you need to take them because this thing is still not necessarily in a downtrend, but it's trying to turn, and that can take a long time to turn before they actually get traction. So look at this. That last time it popped, where did it pop? It went right into the underside of a daily 50. Right here, what do we have? We still have a downtrending hourly 200. We still have a downtrending daily 50. So even though we're seeing some divergences, and even though what it's telling us is, hey, this may not want to go down any further, the short side might be over, which is a lot of what I'm seeing here because of that divergence. It's hard to say that this thing is going to really rip-roar to the upside because it's going to take some time. I think one way to demonstrate this, let's look at just a little bit of one, but I think one thing to look at is it's going to take some work. If you look at Voyager, you might say, hey, Voyager's right here because that's when price for the most recent time ran into the underside of a downtrending daily 50. So you might be prepared for price to come back down and want to do some sort of double bottom situation, kind of right in through here and get some divergence there. But it still took a while. And even at that, you can see that you get a move up, and it still needs to pull back to the daily 50 in order to test that uptrending daily 50. Think about it. Think about the angle of attack concept. So if we go back to that Voyager, which was VYGR, even if this thing, so we do have that, there's that, let's see, there's that divergence right there. So even if we get price to move up, it's probably going to be messy. Then you come up, and then maybe it's going to have to come back down and test the 50 and then move up. So there are going to be a lot of trades in through here if you're going to be able to catch something. Maybe not the easiest name to try and trade, as it's trying to change directions. Daydreamer, yeah, Tesla. I don't think there's anything here. I mean, unless you're maybe, since we're in such a different market, maybe you guys, when you're asking for a name, let me know if you're looking for it long or short, because I hope that when you guys are asking me about Novavax or Tesla, maybe you're asking me to the short side, and here I am trying to give you an answer to the long side, and you're like, that's not what I wanted to know. As far as Tesla goes, look, it keeps staying underneath the hourly 50. It keeps staying underneath the hourly, or the 15-minute 200, and it just keeps kind of trending down. Now, maybe there's going to be a bounce here. Maybe, I'm not sure I'd play it to the upside. Maybe there's going to be a little bit of something because it's out here at the 30 ATR and it's coming up on the daily 200, and you're extended to the downside here. I would be careful because, again, at the beginning of what I was talking about here, I am looking for a bounce in the markets. I'm looking for the NASDAQ and the IWM and the SPY to hopefully bounce soon. And maybe you look at names that follow the market and are the market. You look at something like Tesla and you're like, is this a place that I really want to go short? It is not. You want to be going short here and here when it's at the upside of that moving average, when it's just about to get knocked down. That's where you want to go short. You don't want to be going short in through here. If anything, if you can catch a bounce or something, that's where you want to be catching a bounce. All right, let's see. Where else are we at? Gilead, GILD, there's probably going to be not much there. I don't know. This is not a stock that I'd really want to be trading. This is very messy. So not really something I want to be trading. But after earnings, you can see here it's gotten over the hourly 50, then pulled back to the 50 and pulled back to the 50. So those are about the only metrics that I can give you as far as how Gilead has been moving up. So if it can generally keep holding the hourly 50, then and then maybe even stay above that level, then okay. Then it looks like it should be able to keep going up. I don't know. It's a very messy chart. It's not something I'd really prefer to try and step into. All right, Roblox, RBLX. And then, yeah, guys, let me know if you have any other questions and which kind of tickers we're looking at, and we'll take a little tour around the market. Yeah, I know John was making this trade, and I was trying to catch one right here, right as price bounced off of the hourly 50 and the Moxie indicator got above 0, and there was a squeeze, and we got in right here as price got back on top of the 15-minute 50. And you know what? We got out the very next day. And this is when people ask me sometimes, hey, how long do you keep your trades? It's like, hey, I'd love to keep my trades for a long time or until they appreciate quite a bit. But you know what? If I need to get out the next day or if I get stopped out the next day, then so be it, because it looked like there was a setup and then it didn't work. And that's just fine. So with Roblox, you can see that the next day, price couldn't hold the 15-minute 50. And that's the beginning of what I need to see in order to see price start to move up. If price can't hold moving averages, then what are we doing? It's not doing what we want it to do. And so the fact that it fell down through there and right in through here, and the fact that this was basically a high beta name, and that if this thing's going to go, it should really go, and it just kind of fell apart, yeah, we got out, and good thing we did, because you can see it just continued to move down. It continued to get rejected by the underside of the 15-minute 50, and it just kept going down. Now, again, I don't trade earnings, so I got to wait till after earnings. And here we are now after earnings, lots of volume, pretty good strength. The one thing I'll say is, let's see if price can hold the 15-minute 50. Might do that for a few days. If it doesn't, then what I'd like to see is what will price do with the hourly 50, and maybe it'll bounce off of it like that. So you'll have to kind of keep 2 time frames in mind as far as what you're looking for. For initially, can it hold the 15-minute 50 and start to move up, or is it going to want a little bit more strength with a higher time frame chart like the hourly, and start to and actually wait a little bit longer to find that kind of support. All right, GBTC, there's nothing there either. Bitcoin, I know Ethereum has been doing pretty well, so I guess everybody is piling into Ethereum right now and not Bitcoin. But I keep seeing Bitcoin getting stuck underneath the daily 50. I still see the 8 below the 21. I see price underneath the hourly 200. I'm not seeing anything here. If anything, it's short. I don't see this going well. It doesn't look like it's doing anything. Here you can see price getting rejected by the underside of the hourly 50 so far. The Moxie indicator just doesn't look good, and the 15-minute Moxie indicator doesn't look good. It keeps trending down. And right here, it looks like price is also getting rejected by the underside of the 15-minute 50. So, yeah, I'm just not seeing anything here. Doesn't look good. All right, then Apple, messy chart. And as I said with the Qs, what I was looking for Apple, and you can see I had my X right there. I was looking for price to pull back, and initially I was looking for price to come back down to the daily 50. Well, it did, and then we have to decide. Let me kind of zoom in on that one. So if price comes down to the daily 50, is that a buy point? Well, I like to go down to the next lower time frame and see if price is going to hold it. And again, how do I know if price is going to hold the daily 50? Well, because price will be following other moving averages. And what you can see here is price just basically did a bear flag right into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50. And you can see here went right into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 200. And the Moxie indicator was below zero. So yeah, didn't want to go. And this is why when we were looking at this, trying to figure out, hey, is this a place to go long? Didn't go long. Now, maybe short would have been great, but I'm not super interested on the short side. So then we look here and say, okay, now do we go long or what's going on, or do we continue going short? It might seem a little risky to the short side. Why? Well, look at this. If you look left, you are in well, let me kind of draw that better. If you look left, you are coming right into the middle of a very large price area. Think about that as just who's there. There are buyers there. There are people there. There are a lot of people that found that there was support here on Apple at $122 right here, and it was enough support that it then pushed price back up. So people who own there, people who bought there, the people who defended Apple right there are probably going to also again defend Apple in that same section. So just from a support, like a price level support area, seems to me that that's probably going to be a good defensive place. The other thing, third ATR, right? Price here is at the lower third ATR on the daily chart. It's usually a place that price likes to find some support and bounce. Also, price is at the daily 200. It's a pretty good, typically strong moving average. We'll have to see when it holds. And then you can also see here on the hourly chart that price is outside of third ATR also. Do you really want to go short here? Probably not. I'd be looking for a fresher setup. Generally something like here if you're going to be going short, because right now price is starting to pull away from that moving average, and usually when price gets too far away from a moving average, it's going to want to come back to it at some point. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for Apple. Let's see, PayPal. Yeah, nothing there. In fact, I had PayPal in one of my weekly webinars when I said right here that this was an inverse trampoline move on the daily chart. Like price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below zero. You can see there's a double top, there's negative divergence. Didn't work. That was negative divergence. Price didn't want to go up because the Moxie indicator was lower. Since then, it's been just running right into the underside of the hourly 50 and can't really find any traction. Now, kind of like Apple again, if you look left, where is price? Right here, right? There is a lot of price congestion. There are a lot of people right there who defended PayPal's price at $240 and caused it to bounce. So we'd have to say, hey, is that going to be a lot of support in through here again, and is it going to cause it to bounce? It might be. Might be likely to think about that. All right, then shop. It's just messy. Not much to do here. Price is still underneath a downtrending hourly 50. Price cannot get past the downtrending daily 50. Not much to do here. It's just it's just chopping around. There's no energy. It's just chop, chop, chop. So yeah, not much to really say about shop. It's chop, 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 chop. All right, WPM. Yeah, if anything, I'd be looking more at gold and metals, those kind of things. Right now, WPM is right here at the daily 200. Yeah, okay, maybe that's going to be an issue. It might need to do a little bit of sideways movement until it can get past it. I was looking more at GDX, which also is at the same thing because, all the gold miners. And you might need to give this a little bit of time in order to get through it. Typically, when these things, they like to run up and then they pull back and they run up and they pull back. And, they might want to pull back to the daily 21 or at least go sideways for a little bit longer because you see how there's a bit of a gap here between price and the hourly 50. So it seems as though it's going to need some more time before it can really get going that direction. All right, then oh yeah, I saw that Fubo had big earnings pop, but it hasn't changed direction. It's still kind of hammering out its downtrend. There's still just nothing here. I don't want to go buy this here. It's at the 30 ATR. It's at the 200. I don't want to go buy it here. Yeah, I know there was a huge pop, but what do you do? Yeah, there's nothing really to do here yet. It's, if anything, the first opportunity for me to try and find a long is whenever price pulls back to the hourly 50. So in my world, this thing is more likely to go down in order to even find support before it goes up. So if you guys want to play something like that, I'd honestly be looking at Fubo short down to the 15-minute 50 or down to the hourly 50 at minimum. And let's see, there's at least a few points, 7%. Yeah, there's 7% down there. I'd go Fubo short. And let's see, we'll kind of wrap up with AMC. Yeah, we took a quick little trade in through here. It worked out. I should have just sold it. And then it came back down. We got out basically break even. So there was one little trade, and then this thing falls apart. This has kind of been the MO of the market right now. Stuff doesn't tend to want to hold up. So right now, Gwen, as far as what this is doing, I see the double bottom. We talk about the double bottom right there. Okay, but what do I usually say? As far as if this is going to be a long trade, I need to see price use the hourly 50 for support. And what is this? Right now, this is the first time that price has crossed over the hourly 50. So generally what I'm looking for is I want to see price come back down into the hourly 50, see if it holds. If it holds, then I can go up. Otherwise, this is a move up into resistance because it's a move up into the daily 50, and it might start coming back down like this. So yeah, Nick, exactly, retest of the 50. So right now, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, hey, I think that AMC is actually more likely to come back down to try and test the hourly 50. Now, we don't know what it's going to do after that. Is it going to hold the 50 or not? But I think it at least needs to go down there at some point. The question is when. All right, guys. I think we'll be wrapping up there. We got 9 o'clock, so we got half an hour. And I think, let's see, where is... There we go. So if you guys are interested, just a little bit more information about me, you guys can find out. I write some newsletters. I got another one I got to be writing today too. And we'll see what we can talk about that. Still probably searching for traffic. The market, it's kind of rough out there. We've been looking more in industrial names, looking more for names that appreciate based on the interest rate or inflation going up. So it's challenging out there, no doubt about it. We're in the sell and may go away, and we're in summertime. So oil is usually bullish during summer, so we're looking in that area. But man, yeah, it's a tough market out there. Anyway, stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you.